And for more, we're joined by Anupam Manur in Bengaluru, India. He's a professor of economics at the Takshashila Institution. Now, Professor, with India banning both direct and indirect imports from Pakistan, how significant is the threat to the $10 billion backdoor trade between these two nations?
Well, in terms of direct trade, India's minimal imports from Pakistan will now fall close to zero. After the 200% tariff on Pakistani goods, this will significantly reduce imports from about $2.9 million to a mere $400,000 in 24-25. Indirect trade, though, is much higher, as you have indicated, with figures as high as $10 billion, which is routed through Dubai, Singapore, and even Sri Lanka. But this new stance by India targets both the direct and indirect trade routes. And while it may even be partially successful, it can cause adequate friction for traders on either side. There will be a significant increase in transaction costs to deliver goods from Pakistan into the Indian borders, which might be prohibitive for trade. Now, even if this figure reduces by half, it can be a significant blow to Pakistan's already fragile balance of payments and forex reserves. The most significant challenge, though, is the closure of airspace and the blocking of ports, which was just discussed.
And can either side realistically enforce a full shutdown of third-party trade routes, particularly through hubs like Dubai and Singapore?
This is difficult, given that most of the rerouting and relabeling of goods happen in ports, such as Dubai, and this is done by private parties. So it will be difficult to enforce a full shutdown. The customs officials in both countries will have their hands quite full. However, some of the onus will actually lie on traders themselves, as they would be aware of the country of origin when they make these purchases. Now, given that the patriotic emotion is running quite high and traders are also broadly in support with the government's ban, I think it has a much higher probability of success. India can also, remember, engage diplomatically with the third-party countries to prevent the movement of these goods. This, I think, will add further friction and can make trade difficult. So, is it easy to do a full shutdown? I don't think so. But it is, I think, possible to create enough friction in trade.
And doesn't this further fuel current global trade tensions?
Oh, for sure it does. But we have to remember that the trade volumes between the two countries are negligible, especially to India. So even with the unofficial trade of $10 billion that we were speaking about, it is just 1% of total trade volume for India in the previous year. So I think in that sense, it's not such a big deal. The more important thing is about the signaling and the disruptions to trade, which is already in quite a fragile state in the global world order.
And do you think bans like this achieve national security goals, or do they just end up hurting small businesses and consumers on both sides?
In my opinion, it's neither about national security nor about hurting business or consumer interests, but I think about punitive actions and sending signals. If, as I said, most of the imports from Pakistan into India is rather niche products, such as figs and dry fruits, herbs and Himalayan pink salt, the absence of which might not cause such a furor. Alternatives can be found, and marginal price increases will not harm the general Indian consumer. The volume of trade, as I'd spoken about, is quite negligent for this to have any real big impact.
Professor Anupam Manur from the Takshashila Institution, thank you very much for joining us.